Everybody. I'm Kip. I'm the head of engineering here at WMG Academy for Young Engineers in Coventry. We are one of two engineering academy schools, one here in Coventry and one here in Solihull as well. Our ethos of our academy is very much focused on a career-based curriculum. We are looking to our business partners that we work with, both local and medium-sized companies to national and international companies, to provide a provision for our students within our curriculum to make them ready for work, to get into those apprenticeships to go and work for those companies. And our specialism is, as it says on the tin, is engineering. We have an ethos of business-like, business-led. So whether that's working with the example I put in there with Aston Martin, or whether it's National Grid, or whether it's with a small, medium company like Sargenson's aluminium die casting foundry, and it doesn't matter who we work with, all of our students are professional in the way that they work with those companies. To sort of describe our curriculum to you, we have only Key Stage 4 and 5 within our academy. So we take in students from all over the county, from Warwickshire, from Coventry, from Rugby even. We've even had students come from Wolverhampton as well. At Key Stage 4, we have 2 Cambridge National qualifications, one in engineering design and one in engineering manufacture. And over the past 2 years, we've also opened that up to electronics under the Welsh board as well. We also have the fine art and design curriculum in there as well as the GCSE. And I'm not going to take you through all the different rooms that they're in today. I'm going to be focusing on just one main area in our academy, and that's our engineering hall. But all of these different lessons that occur within that environment. So all the students get to go down and interact with that space in some way or another. At Key Stage 5, it's quite extensive in terms of our engineering provision, and that engineering provision again is linked in with lots of different companies, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So we have our single A-level equivalent, which is our Cambridge Technical and Engineering Extended Certificate, and that's partnered with Aston Martin. And our BTEC Extended Diploma and Diploma qualifications, and these are linked with several different companies linked into specific units. We have A-level Art and Design, A-level Electronics, and A-level Product Design as well. And our product design curriculum is quite special because we've partnered that with the University of Warwick, because every UTC has a link university, and ours is on our doorstep. And with the A-level product design, I've arranged a series of lectures once a month from different specialists in different areas within the university and our wider company partners to come in and deliver aspects and contextualize the curriculum that the students have to study, making them more ready moving forward, going on to university, so they get a taste of what university is like. They go to the campus, they find the room, they find the lecture theatre that they need to go to, and they experience what it's like to have one of those seminars or one of those lectures as well, once a month. But here's a sort of snapshot of our industry engagement. I'll take you through a couple of these photographs here. So on the top left-hand side, that's a group of our BTEC engineering students. That was on a visit pre-pandemic to Cummins Limited in Daventry. Now, Cummins make a variety of different diesel engines. They're moving over to a hydrogen-powered engine soon. They're having a sort of transition period at the minute. And they largely provide engines for backup power generation for hospitals or servers that are managed by Google or Microsoft. Or the engines go into various different motor vehicles or marine applications for boats and submarines as such. And the students here were on a trip to the factory over at Cummins, and they were taking part in an activity where they were looking at doing a disassembly on one of the components that Cummins manufacture. And they were investigating the oil pressure that was going into it and whether there was any drop off within that oil pressure as they were applying more pressure into the system, and then they were seeing where that leak was, and then they talked to the engineers there and discovered how would they go about either repairing that leak or whether that part would actually need to be scrapped or has to be replaced as such. In the photograph just to the right hand side, this is one of our starting activities, one of our icebreaker activities we do with National Grid, whereby we have some National Grid colleagues come in and they act out different roles for us. They act out the health and safety inspector, they act out the angry farmer, they act out the person that that is just a member of the public wandering by, or the newspaper reporter, and the students have to build a wind turbine one end of the field and connect it up to a light on the other end of the field. And they have 2 hours to do this in, and they have to do this in teams. So they're given all of the equipment, all of the tools, and then National Grid interact with them, trying to prevent them from actually getting that job done. So if you imagine that National Grid have all these large infrastructure projects and they have to jump through all of these different hurdles, they sort of give the students a sort of snapshot of what that experience is like. In the bottom two images there is a trip out to a quarry, looking at how tarmac gain those raw materials and how they're processed into materials that can be laid for asphalt or laid for aggregate for foundations for roads. And then on the just to the right hand side in the center, we have a picture of our students going to the aluminium die casting foundry, Sargent & Sons on Torrington Avenue, which is about a 2-minute drive from our academy. And the students here are doing some spectroscopy testing and some tensile testing of the materials that Sargent & Sons undergo for when they're manufacturing their products. Now, the trips out to Cummins and Sargent & Sons, they're tied into specific BTEC units, as I was saying. So the Sargent & Sons one is tied in with Unit 25 Metallurgy unit, and the trip to Cummins is tied in with our Unit 24 Maintenance of Mechanical Systems unit. So it's quite nice to work with those different companies and generate an idea for a project which I can assess the students on and accredit them on their BTEC qualification. And that is the most powerful thing that we have here at our academy. And what it leads to is what we have on the right-hand side. All of those students there are all students that came to our academy. Now, we've got Scott there, we've got Will there, we've got Krushma there, all in the lineup. And all of those have went from our academy to work for Aston Martin, all gaining degree apprenticeships in different departments, from design to maintenance to mechanical to HR. And Jay, who's the second one in from the left-hand side, he has a phenomenal job. Now, he's part of the HR team, and he manages the promotion of new company launches for cars. So he's really enjoyed working with Aston Martin, because over the last year or so, he's had to fly pretty much all over the world, even with all the COVID restrictions, helping launch the latest James Bond film, because of all the Aston Martin association with that as well. So he came back to the academy recently and told us all about those stories as well, and get to share those stories with our students as well. So again, it's a really powerful message where we can bring back our alumni from where they've gone on to back into our academy to show these students went here, this is what they learned, and this is where they are now, to show them those experiences. To talk through our engineering hall, again, moving away from our sort of alumni and our company partners, we have quite an extensive setup. Being an engineering academy, I have quite a good financial setup to put the appropriate equipment in place that we need moving forwards. So we have 5 manual lathes and 4 manual milling machines within the workshop, and they're in a designated area within the workshop where we have our machining. I've recently moved our CNC lathes into that area as well. And this is so we can manage the students when they're completing their engineering manufacturing qualification, because as part of that qualification, the students have to make a one-off part on the lathe, and then they have to then learn how to set up and program a CNC lathe to make a batch production of the same part that they have designed. We also have 2 3-axis milling machines, 2 3-axis routers, and 1 4-axis CNC router as well. We also have a woodworking area, which wasn't there, I have to say, when we first started at the academy, and it's something I had to put in. I don't think the architect really thought about that we were just going to be working with one type of material area. We worked with multiple different material areas. So I designed it and arranged an area in the workshop where we can have a set of woodworking equipment installed. And we have the sort of the basic woodworking equipment that you would expect to see in a standard sort of design and technology sort of workshop within a school. So bandsaw, planer thicknesser, radial arm chop saw, table saw, bobbin sander, and mortar saw as well. We then give you sort of an overview of how big the workshop is. So I'm standing on top of the mezzanine now, overlooking the workshop, and we have a bench fitting area where most of the practical work occurs for our students at the academy. So every student at Key Stage 4 has 2 hours a week in our workshop, where they come in and work their way through a variety of different projects that we have set up for them. So each term, the set class will then deliver and create a different project. So this term, in the autumn term, the students have made a toolbox, and then they move on to creating a sliding T-bevel, and they work between the bench fitting area and then moving between the lathes and the mills as they need to perform different operations as they manufacture their tools. All the tools are kept in our bot tool cupboards as well, and they're all counted in and counted out each lesson. And as I show you the video in a second, as we tour through the workshop, you'll see the changing areas the students come in as well. We also have an area underneath the mezzanine as well, which is our hot metal work area. And we've also recently installed a wet electronics area in this area as well, moving that out of one of the classrooms that we had upstairs in the academy. So again, it's bringing all of that manufacturing back into the workshop. We have a variety of different joining methods for welding, so spot, MIG, and TIG welding. We used to have a plasma table where the wet electronics area is now. We cannibalized that and rescued the plasma torch from it. So we've still got plasma sort of cutting ability, but I wanted to make sure that we had a dedicated area to electronics within the academy as well. So hopefully this sort of brings us on to the sort of tour of the academy, and I'm going to sort of play the video and talk you through from the entrance as you walk into the academy to hopefully moving round to the workshop and up onto the mezzanine. So you'll see there we have a sort of bobber motorcycle from one of our employer partners, and that is Triumph. And Triumph are partnered with our engineering manufacturer curriculum, and our students make a bobbin which sits on the back of the motorcycle, and this is used to raise the motorcycle up for any maintenance that occurs on the back wheel. More recently, we've had our new Jaguar car delivered, which has come fresh from the Nürburgring after breaking the lap record for the classification of car in its category. We move into the woodworking area that I've set up as we move through. So this is a teaching area that I would generally work in for my lessons most of the time for product design and engineering design. And we walk through into the woodworking area now. And this is generally just for the technicians and for the teachers. We don't allow students to come into this area and use any of this kit at all. You'll see in the corner there that we're just starting to set up a woodworking lathe as well, and that the mortiser and the radial arm chops are on wheels, and they'll be moved out of that area so we can have that area set up and dedicated to the wood turning lathe in that area. That's only a piece of kit that's been recently purchased in the last couple of months. So as we come out of the sort of woodworking area, back into the bench area for the product designers and the engineering designers, and we pan through onto the rest of the engineering workshop, we move into the bench fitting area. We have an oven there because we have an enrichment group where we do some clay modeling with them once a week, a couple of Hegners as well linked to the woodworking area, and then we're into our bench fitting area as well. The engine that you can see there is our Cummins engine that was given to us by Cummins. It's a 6-cylinder straight 6 ISB diesel engine, and the students as part of that qualification do a serpentine belt change and a fuel injector change. We have a couple of 3D printers and laser cutting facilities in the corner of the room, and then we have our pillar drills set up at the end of the room. The reason I've set the pillar drills up at that end is so when I'm delivering a class, I can assign the technicians to go and work with individual students at the other end of the workshop, as you can see, where the mills are and the lathes are, and then I can contain quite safely the rest of the class in that bench fitting area there. The band facer that we're just passing now is set up directly just for metalwork, and the other band facer in the woodworking area is just for timber. The students will normally come in through the double doors there, and they'll come in, put their bags into their lockers, get their boots on and get themselves changed. And then they'll move back through into the workshop. And then I would start the lesson. Over in this area of the room, we have our 4 manual milling machines, and then we pan round and we have our CNC lathes back to back, and then our 5 manual lathes as well. And again, students, when they're using this equipment, there's a high level of supervision. So I'll assign 1 technician to work with 2 students or 3 students at most, depending on their competency, so they are safe on those machinery. We're going to pan through and go and have a look underneath the mezzanine now. So we have the wet electronics area, which again is recently installed this year. I'm just going to switch the light on. There we are. And we've got several bits of equipment in here, and we're having a bit of a rejig, but we have several bits of equipment here which we use for namely our BTEC curriculum. So the first assignment that the students would do, or first unit they would do, is a unit on sheet metal fabrication. So they would come underneath the mezzanine in groups of between 8 and 10, and they would come in and cut their sheet metal to size, fold them to size, and join them together. They have to have two forming, two joining processes within that particular application of that process. I'm going to start walking backwards now, back through the engineering hall. I'm going to start walking up the mezzanine stairs so you can get a real scope for how large this space is. Now, we've managed to create a space where we've got a dedicated area for product designers, a dedicated area for our workshop lessons when the students are coming in at Key Stage 4 twice a week. And then underneath the mezzanine will become next year a dedicated area for our sixth form classes for BTEC engineering, as well as I purchase a couple of more benches and change the layout underneath. So the technicians live in the cage with all the resources and materials, and we pan through and we're onto the mezzanine. As you can imagine, when the workshop is in full flow, I should say, the mezzanine is quite a noisy environment. Again, this area is reserved for engineering design lessons and product design lessons, so the students can flick between the computer-aided design section over on one side and then the design and modeling area on the other. There's another laser cutter on here as well to support the modeling aspect of it, and that takes you through the tour of our workshop here at WMG Academy.